Plaintiff Ryan Tudor says his girlfriend used to date the defendant, and they even have a child together. Ryan claims the defendant is jealous because he wanted to marry Ryan's girlfriend, and she turned him down. And he's suing him today because the defendant made defamatory statements about Ryan during a custody battle, falsely accusing him of being a gang member. Defendant Lee Conkleton insists he is not jealous of Ryan at all, and he claims Ryan's girlfriend is the one who asked him to go to Vegas to get married. Lee admits that he suspected Ryan of being a gang member because of the way he carries himself, and he's countersuing for emotional distress and lost wages.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Your Honor, the reason why we're here in court today is for the simple fact that I feel like Mr. Conkleton III should be punished for making untrue statements about myself. I also feel like this man is extremely jealous of me for mainly two reasons. The first reason being that he proposed marriage to my girlfriend, Deanna, right here. In the beginning of...
Not while you were dating her, obviously.
We were just started dating. Oh, yeah, we just started dating.
Had he been dating her?
He was with her prior to us being together, yes.
So you took the man's woman?
I didn't take her. She left him, and she met me, and from there, me and her hit it off, and things went from there, Your Honor.
So she was obviously seeing both of you at the same time?
No.
How could he even get access to her to propose then?
He was over the phone. He did this.
She was taking his calls?
Well, Your Honor, they have a child together, so they communicate.
All right. Now, I didn't know they had a child together. Okay.
The second reason that I feel like he is jealous is for the simple fact in 2008, he found out that she was having a child from me. And I feel like he, at that point, knew there was no room for him ever getting back with her.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me hear from him. Sir?
The woman that he's with now is my son's mother.
Mm-hmm.
And no, there was no jealousy because he's with her, you know. We was living together in Colorado, and things wasn't working out. She went her way, I went mine. You know,
you never proposed marriage to her? And
you know what,
during the time they were dating?
Not that I can recall, no.
Uh-oh.
You know, but there's many times that we've just...
Not that I can recall statement. That's always a suspect. Somebody tell you, if you say flat out no.
Well,
when you come with that, not that I recall, that's pretty...
well, Your Honor, we had a conversation. And, you know, we did talk about the marriage. And, you know, and she was saying, you know, if you want to, we go to Vegas right now. You know, that was her thing.
She wasn't dating him at that time?
She was dating him. So she was also a counterpart in it, okay? But not saying that I
So what happened then? Why didn't you all go to Vegas?
Well, we didn't go because she was still hurt over, you know, our breakup, the way things were going.
You think she's feeling better now?
She's not feeling better.
Oh, okay, let me ask you. You ready to go to Vegas now? Stand on up.
With him, yes. But no.
Stand up. I saw you holding your hand up. State your name.
Deanna.
What do you want to tell me?
Your Honor, he did ask me to he did propose to me.
While you were dating?
Yes, this was like a month after he and I were together. He called me on my cell phone. I can remember the day, plain as day. I was getting off of work. He asked me like, hey, let's do this now. Let's get married now. I'll give you whatever you want now. Because prior to me leaving from Denver to come back to California, he looked at me in my face and told me that he could never see himself marrying me or wanting to be with me. That's when I, at that time, proceeded packed my bags and left to come back to California. A month later, I find out he's back in California. Then that's when he asked me like, hey, let's just do this. Let's get back together. And I'm like, no, I'm going to continue with Mr. Ryan Tudor.
Sorry, anything else?
He lost a good woman to me. I mean, that's, at the same time, you know, he found out that she was pregnant with our child. And by some weird coincidence, he decides to take her to court for full custody of their son. And in the process of going through the thing, I was there with her for support. There was some statements made by him in court defaming my character. He called me a reputed and known gang member, which is very untrue. And if I may, Your Honor, the reason why I believe he did was because a tattoo that I have on my arm, if I may show you just to kind of give you an example why I think.
Oh, this guy has it down.
That's right.
She rolls it up for him.
It's a zip code, 90745. It's for the city of Carson in California, but it has no gang ties whatsoever. And I have also, seen your show, Your Honor, and I hear you rep Detroit and rep where you're from. And, I don't think just because someone represents a city or they're prideful for their city that it puts them in a category with murderers, with thieves.
As a gang member.
Exactly, a gang member.
Yeah, I represent Detroit a lot, you're right. And I was a gang member though.
Well, in the same token, Your Honor, I've never been to federal or state prison. I've never even been to county jail, Your Honor.
Okay.
I have no criminal history, and the job that I have would not let me work there.
You certainly don't seem to have the super macho attitude that it takes to survive in the gang. Sir, did you allege he was a gang member?
The appearance that he gave to me, you got the zip code on the forearm, you got your pants sagging under your butt. If it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And that's the way. Like
my sons, who I have to chastise sometime about pulling their pants up.
People, and it's just my opinion.
They look like when they wear their pants under where it should be. My sons, when they do that, they look like gang bangers, sound like gang bangers, look like a duck. They're gang bangers, right?
Yeah. Pretty much, that's your opinion, and then
that's your opinion. I don't think my sons are gang bangers. I don't think they have gang bangers in their circles. Anyhow, go ahead.
And then my son, when he was 4 years old, he was talking around 3, 4. He comes home and tells me, "Hey, Dad, Ryan has a gun in the house." Well, how does my son know that he has a gun? So from that point on, it's a safety issue for my son.
You needed a gun to be safe in the house. But when somebody break in there, he'd be able to defend your son.
That's untrue.
Yeah, but it shouldn't have been visible to my son.
The only guns in the house.
I understand all that. You could have made that complaint and you would be justified. But alleging this man is a gangbanger with no evidence, it sounds like defamation to me, sir.
Sir, in the court, when we went to court, I never actually said Mr. Ryan's name. I never said him per se. I just said she is.
The other thing you should know, sir, that things that go on in court proceedings are privileged, meaning they are exceptions to the law in that case. So you can't sue for defamation for something that is said in court. Now, was it said or was it filed?
Filed and said.
And you weren't part of the court.
Exactly.
You weren't part of the case.
Exactly.
You were not a litigant in the case.
Exactly.
Were you a witness in the case, however?
I was
you
not.
were not a witness nor a litigant.
Exactly.
Well, then that's not an exception because he had nothing to do with the case. It's only an exception when someone has to do with the case. You have to be able to make allegations in a lawsuit and in a court and in a trial because that's what it's about. One person alleges this, the other says that. Well, can't sue him for defamation with those allegations because otherwise people would not be able to make their case clearly in a court of law. But you weren't part of the case. And unless you can show me he was.
The only thing I can provide was in the court actions that me and my son's mother was going through. Mm-hmm. It was an ex parte for me to get emergency custody over my son. Mm-hmm. And when I spoke with my lawyer, I told her that he could possibly be. So
let me see. You have any of the transcripts? Anyone?
Wasn't no possibly. He said I'm a reputed and known gang.
It never stated his name. It never stated his name.
She was 6 months pregnant with my son at the time.
How did it hurt your reputation? That's the other part of defamation, sir. You have to prove that it has hurt your reputation.
Well, when you refer to someone as a reputed known gang member, that's someone who has a career criminal who's been in and out of jail. I'm 27 years old. I have no strikes. I've never even been to county jail, Your Honor. I mean, you're calling me basically a murderer, a thief, a rapist, that I'm out there selling dope, hanging on corners, doing whatever it is that reputed gang members do, and I don't fall into that category. And I
don't see him making reference to you by name.
But he knew who she was with at the time.
But let me tell you what you have to prove, sir. You have to prove that he knowingly or recklessly said something untrue to someone, a third party, intending to cause damage to your reputation, and it does. Now, it doesn't say you. It says respondent is able to carry out these threats because she is now dating a reputed and known gang member. She could have a few boyfriends, as she did at one time.
No, she was never with us.
She could be headed to Vegas every day. And,
No.
How often you be headed to Vegas? You held up your hand.
No, I just want to
You held up your
say.
hand only 5 times. What? I was talking about how often you go to Vegas and you did like that.
Your
So
Honor.
you go 5 times with me to Vegas.
No.
If I were to read this, I wouldn't necessarily conclude it was you.
He has also told his stepmother the same thing that he told the court.
You have any evidence that he told her that?
My girlfriend,
Come on
Deanna.
now. Tell me about him telling her that.
Well, she's mentioned to me that he's told her that he is a gang member because of the way he carries himself.
Sir, did you tell your stepmother that he was a gang member in your opinion?
Actually, you know, Your Honor, my stepmother, she interacts with my son quite a bit, and she goes and picks up my son. So with her own 2 eyes, she saw how he wears his pants sagging, you know, and how
Did
he
you ever
presents
discuss
himself.
it with her, sir?
Well, she brought it to my attention, and I also agreed. So
All right. What is
I
that
also
you
have a
wanna
statement
handle,
here
sir?
from her.
Your counterclaim for emotional distress and lost wages is for what, sir?
You know, his last birthday that he had. You know, me and her was supposed to go half and half on this birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, you know. And at the last minute, she calls me and she tells me, no, we're going to throw 2 separate parties. Why? She said, I need to keep the peace in the household because Ryan does not want to
So
be
how
around
is he
you.
responsible for that, sir?
Well, I mean, if he's stopping the interaction, I'm the one who has to sit up here and listen to my son ask me, I want to talk to my mom. I want to
Step up,
talk to my
ma'am.
mom.
Does he prohibit
No.
him from being in contact with his
No,
son?
because sometimes he calls me at
Right.
work.
Yeah, and I don't believe that either. What you've just described isn't him preventing you from contact with your son. And with regard to the defamation, this does not say anything about him being a gang member. It does not allege he's a gang member. All it says is that she has witnessed him walking around with his pants sagging. She has not said, I believe, or I was told, or it appears he's in a gang. She didn't say that, but you have admitted so-called discussing it with her. You've admitted also that you alleged it in court about him or in the court documents about him. It doesn't specify your name. However, you're admitting that you were talking about him.
Your Honor.
It can't cause you damage because your name isn't in here. However, it certainly caused you damage with his stepmother who could gossip all around the neighborhood about you. If she's willing to put a witness statement down about your pants sagging, you can bet she's telling everybody on the block who can listen. $2,000 for the plaintiff for the defamation. Your claim is dismissed. Have a good day.
I have no hard feelings because we all have to get along due to our child and their child being together. So I have no problems with them.
Basically, after what he said in the court papers, you know, I don't want to be friends with this man, but I could be civil with him for our sons because they're brothers and I want them to grow up and get along with each other.
That's the main thing.
All right.